I think they were crossing.
The car was turning on to 9th.
Yeah, so 9th. They were in the crosswalk at 9th.
So the car was coming off of River on tonight?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All right, it's now 11:30. We're going to go ahead and kick things off with our pre-commission agenda. Just have a somber note to share, and welcome our other commissioners to chime in on this, but I'm sure we've all seen the news about the bicyclists being hit on 9th and River and being in a very bad state. So just kind of a reminder that I'm on that Boise fatal crash review task force. And so we've been looking at the crashes that have occurred last year and even before that. So I'm sure we're going to be obviously looking at this one because we also include severe crashes as well. So we'll be taking a look at it and just deeply concerned about what initial details we do have about this crash, and we'll be having further conversations about it. But Commissioner Hanson, did you have something else to share?
No, I just echo that. I think it just shows when we have one-way fast arterials going through the middle of an urban center where we're inviting people, lots of people to walk a bike. All you need is one person who's not paying attention, as apparently this has happened. It's really troubling to see that, and I think we've got to keep looking at what we can do to help at least raise people's awareness of when they're driving, even though they're driving onto, turning onto, or going through on a major arterial that has a whole bunch of one-way lanes. They're still in an urban center where there should be lots of people. There could be lots of people.
All right, so do we have any questions, housekeeping items, or questions on the agenda?
I just had a quick question. I saw Dave Serdar. It's my favorite person today. He's going to be up later on. We have something on the consent agenda. I'm not going to have it moved unless someone else does, but I noticed that one purchase is going to buy up, well, maybe it is on the regular agenda, the Linder Overland Road, yeah. Is that on the consent agenda or
on the consent?
It's on the consent. I just wondered, that's going to eat up 23% of our, just that one purchase, 23% of our, what we've budgeted for the right-of-way acquisition. We going to have enough left, or are we going to be coming back for a budget adjustment?
Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, I would not be surprised if we came back to you in a budget adjustment.
Yeah, it just looked like a lot for one.
It's full buyout and such, and at the end of the day, this is that's the cost of doing business right now.
It's going up. Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, I just want us to be aware of that.
Any other questions?
Madam President?
Commissioner McKinney?
Yes, regarding items 4 and 5 on the consent agenda, just a comment, kind of a follow-up on on our discussion that we had a couple of weeks ago on another impact fee deferral agreement. And my concern is that two things. Number one, as I discussed last time, it seems to me that we need to have a standard and uniform policy for determining when to accept or reject impact fee deferral agreements, because there are two potential problems I see. And I'm not necessarily concerned about these that are right before us, but in general, two things. Number one, if we're simply more or less rubber stamping impact fee deferral requests that come in, it raises the possibility of, concerns by especially new businesses, for example, that, this will get a little too long. I don't want to get too long, but, new businesses, cash flow is an issue. Most new businesses fail in the first couple of years. Impact fees can be a major part of that can have a major impact on their cash flow. Because of that, if impact fee deferral requests are approved as a matter of course, but that could, number one, that could dramatically affect at least the rate at which impact fees come into the district for at least a period of years until these things start cycling through. On the other hand, if it's a situation where some businesses are aware of it and others are not, or they have to request it and some may not know, then we've got a potential issue where people could complain that, you know, equal protection of the law is a problem here because some get it, some don't, and not everyone knows about it, what have you. Those are potential problems, and that's why as we see these, I'm concerned that we have not yet discussed and adopted a uniform, consistent and fair policy for determining when we will and won't defer impact fees, and what are the criteria for doing that, and then of course looking at what are the effects on the budget because of that.
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, thank you, and I hope you will not be surprised that the staff is working that. And as the lawyer snuck up behind me and let me know that he has an update, I'd like to turn it over to him at this point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. I think this was discussed within the last 2 weeks. And right after that meeting, Christy Little and Ryan Head and myself were working on some initial concepts of a policy to address many of the issues that you've raised. Christy just sent me today, this morning, her initial thoughts, and we'll be moving forward with that, and we'll be working with the Madam President to develop a workshop so we can come and let you know what we think.
Okay.
So, but until then, it's the current policy, which is no policy.
Which makes me wonder if it wouldn't be wise on our part to simply pause all impact fee deferral requests until we have a policy in place.
Well, Madam President and Commissioner McKinney, that while that sounds rational, the problem is that we can't hold those because we don't have a policy. So, and we've treated other people in the past when we've had no policy to consider those. Right. So there's an urgency to get that policy going. We're going as fast as we can, and I suspect that the Madam President will be scheduling a work session to talk about some of the key points.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate this, and I would ask that we include a heavy emphasis on what the priorities of the general purpose government's land use priorities are. In both of these cases, one is a child care center. The high cost of child care is obviously something that Meridian is very concerned about. The other is an apartment to address affordable housing that Boise is very concerned about. Both of those cities presumably are also deferring their impact fees for the reason that that's a priority for those communities. And I think we have to be consistent with what the priorities of our land use agencies are. We're not allowed to address the distinction between affordable housing and others. We had that discussion a year or so ago. But there is one teeny tiny tool, and that is just to defer it for a year or two. And so I would say that the priorities of the land use agency have to really be the critical component when we're looking at whether and how we defer impact fees. Clearly, for example, the affordable housing unit that's being built on State Street those folks are going to largely use the transit system on State Street. That's one of the reasons why it's being located there, because it's the premier transit route. And so they're not going to be using whatever money is spent. This money can only be used to expand roadways, arterials for automobiles. So to the extent that they're actually going to be using something that the city is helping to pay for and has secured grants for, then that just makes a whole lot of sense that we defer to the land use agencies. So I hope that's a key component of the policy.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. All right, if there's no other questions about the agenda, Director, over to you.
Madam President, Commissioners, good morning. A couple items for you. First off, as you saw from my note last night, we've been asked to assist in the military procession regarding the fallen warrior for tomorrow. I will let you know that we are moving full speed ahead on that. I've already coordinated with the mayors in Meridian, in Eagle and Star to let them know what our game plan is going forward. The team is meeting with me later on this afternoon to finalize all operations, and we will have an amazingly great media campaign that goes out to alert the public of what we are doing on Eagle to ensure that the fallen warrior is not interrupted in his path up to Emmett and such. So we will keep you posted across the board, but I know the ISP is very thankful for the support that we are giving them at this very, very terrible time. I'd like to remind the commission that tomorrow also you have a joint meeting with Boise at City Hall. You've all seen the agenda, and if you haven't, I'm more than happy to send it out again and such. I believe you should be in seats no later than 3:45 for the start, and we'll go from there. I'd also like to let you know that next Tuesday is our annual monthly all staff. It'll be at Adams. We're going to do the majority of our all staffs now at Adams because we have the construction for the that's going on at Cloverdale and such, and we don't want to mix and match all sorts of avenues and such over there. I'd like to share two initiatives that we're working on. And I think I hinted about this a little bit ago. Number one, we are looking at incorporating a simulator into operations here at the district. As you know, we have many new team members. They're doing a great job, but very little experience. And there's an opportunity that with the advanced and simulator training to be able to, if we want to go down this path, to be able to bring a simulator here to replicate a lot of our vehicles so that when we have new people coming on board and need remedial training, whatever it is, we can do it in a simulator without putting them on the road or burning gas as we move forward. We have a team selected that's going to go take a look at this, and it's very balanced. We have some people that hate simulators, and we have people that love simulators. And so they're going to go out and look at these and come back to me and let me know what their thoughts are from an operational perspective, and I will share this with you. But as I've shared with the team, it's been my experience in past careers that the appropriate simulators, not Game Boys or toys, can be very, very beneficial in the training and the operations of any organization. So I'll keep you posted. And if we do decide to go on this path, I will be looking for volunteers from the commission to be the first ones in to see how y'all do on this going forward. We've been talking about this for a while, and I wanted to share with you that we have moved forward on remote, anonymous bicycle and pedestrian count systems. We have 4 that we've put in place, and as you know, we've talked about this for some time. But our hope is that through this pilot project that we will expand, that we'll be able to come back to the commission in the next couple months and say, here are the numbers, here's where we've seen great utilization for your thoughts when it comes down to budget and next projects you want to do. But it's very, very exciting. We will able to actually have accurate data to present to you on these things. Secondly, we've modernized and automated what I'm going to say our environmental compliance review. As you know, you're responsible for both phase 1 and phase 2. In the past, we've looked at it, we kind of knew where we were, but now on a monthly basis, we'll be able to tell you exactly where we are when it comes down to our actions on phase 1 and phase 2 moving forward. I think it's very, very exciting that we can sit there and say, here you go at a snapshot, this is where we are. And finally, we talked about this, I think, on Tuesday and such, but for VRF, Justin, make sure I have this right, but VRF year to date, the commission has expended over $100 million. Say again? And core, VFR and core. Total spending $100 million so far to date. That's gone to some very tremendous projects that have been very beneficial to Ada County. The reason I bring this up is I'd like to remind the commission that the VRF program sunsets on 28. And so again, that clock is ticking, and I think that for the commission to move forward, if that's your desire, to continue to remove that sunset clause, that those actions should start in the very near future, because it's going to be about a 2 to 3 year process to make this work and such. But just great news on where those dollars have been spent, and so I think we can look the public in the eye and say we have fulfilled our promise when it comes down to that initial VRF ballot initiative that went out. So commissioners, that's what I have for you this morning. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thanks, Director. Commissioners?
Madam
Commissioner
President?
McKinney?
Director, just one question on that VRF issue. That's not a legislative issue, that's something that's countywide, is that?
Voter issue.
So it has, in other words, it has to go back to the
Has to go back
voters
to voters.
at the county level, and the legislator isn't involved in that.
Not that I'm aware of, Steve. Yep, right.
Okay.
It's all on us to make that happen.
So we would have to get the ball rolling to have that on the ballot would it be this year that would need to be on the
No.
ballot?
No, I think 2 years from now, minimum, right? Yeah.
Okay.
But
What-
again, sir, this is a prior commission attempted to do something along these lines, and we sped, and it didn't work out well, and the voters did not support the VRF initiative. This is a multi-year effort that will again require a true focus to make sure that this very important community program does not sunset. Because if it does, we're losing millions of dollars to be able to put back into safe routes to schools, core, those sort of things.
Commissioner?
If I can, what are the first steps that we need to take, and what needs to be done right away to go in that direction?
I would suggest, Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, that the commission make a decision that they want to move forward on this. At that point, then I'll have the staff start putting together the straw man that will show you when, where, and how. But that first step is probably a formal action by the commission that says we want to move forward on this.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Yeah, I think that possibly we should have a work session where it's pretty interactive so that we can understand, those that weren't here, why we failed. And why we desperately need some legislative action if we are to have much of a chance of succeeding in the future if the same issues are brought out publicly as they were last time.
Thanks, Director.
Thank you all.
We'll be at ease until noon. Thank you. would have pulled a Kent. All right, it's now 12 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone in person and online. Please join us in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first order of business is to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next order of business is to adopt the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered routine and are action items unless otherwise noted. The consent agenda is enacted by one motion. There is no separate discussion on items on the consent agenda. If a commissioner or citizen would like, they may request any item be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. I don't believe we have any of those requests, so is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so we have one item on the regular agenda. It's the vacation portion of South Raymond Street situated in Randall Acres Subdivision number 13. It's a request for approval. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Welcome, Mr. Serdar.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. For the record, David Serdar. There, I think you can hear me a little better there. Right-of-way supervisor for ACHD. As stated, this is a public hearing and decision briefing for vacation of land at the corner of South Raymond Street and Jim Park Street in Boise, Idaho. This is in the area of the airport. ACHD received an application from the city of Boise, specifically the air terminal, to vacate a portion of South Raymond Street, approximately 200 feet in length, more or less. It totals 6,254 square feet. Per the interagency agreement between ACHD and the city of Boise, this transaction qualifies for no payment of fees or charges. The city of Boise's interest in this property is to consolidate its current ownership in the area. As you can see, here is the actual vacation. Kind of from afar away, you can kind of see it. Boise City owns the property both on the west and the east. And this piece of land will obviously consolidate their ownership. Once again, this is a close-up view of the vacation. The red, as always, is the actual portion of the vacation. Again, per the interagency agreement, Boise City was also not obligated to pay any of the qualifying fees or the administrative fee or the charges for this vacation. The applicant has completed all requirements. ACHD staff received no objections to this vacation, public or otherwise. Therefore, it is staff recommendation that the commission adopt and sign resolution 2415 approving the vacation. I will remain standing for any comments.
Thanks, Dave. Commissioners, questions for staff?
Madam President.
Commissioner McKinney?
Dave, do we have any idea what the city of Boise intends to do with this property? Not that it necessarily matters, but.
I particularly don't. There is a representative that handled the vacation for Boise City, and he could address that question a little better.
It's really just a matter of curiosity because I know it doesn't really matter to us, but.
No, my staff has been that it's a consolidation of ownership, which makes sense, but the Boise City representative can answer that if for any further.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Welcome.
For the record, Kent Brown, 3161 East Springwood is my address. This piece of property, the airport owns much of the property in this area. They've been building warehouses. as you're familiar, as you do development, when you have right of way, and you build next to it, you're required to put in improvements. So some of those improvements on this particular piece would be a turnaround, because you'd have to have, you go a certain distance, you gotta have a turnaround, so there'd have to be additional right-of-way granted to do so, and those improvements basically add no value to the things that are taking place on the property. They're building warehouses to the west of this site, and so we've been waiting for this vacation to take place so that your staff doesn't require us to put in curb gutter and sidewalk and additional right-of-way as a part of doing that. But it does consolidate what they're using and make it so that you can have access back and forth with the properties.
Okay.
And Kent, you're with the airport, is that correct?
I represent the airport.
You're
I'm a
representing the
consultant
airport.
for
Okay.
them, yes.
Thank you.
So
Commissioner
would-
McKinney?
Yeah, would the airport sell the property to a developer or just lease it, or either one?
So in my narrative letter, we talk about that the FAA purchased many of these properties to protect the airport. And so as a part of protecting the airport, they're taking these properties, multiple properties. I probably have done somewhere around 9-10 vacations. Most of them have not been ACHD facilities, but public utilities and so forth. And as they consolidate these, then they put these big, huge warehouses to be adjacent to the airport and is more compatible. When this was originally platted in 1955, I wasn't around, so, but it was a totally different use. The airport wasn't planned to be as big or as whatever that it's taking place. These were acreages, not on sewer, and so they were looking at connectivity when these proposed right-of-ways were granted in the past.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kent. All right. Is there any member of the public that would like to address this issue? Is there anyone, Karen, online? No. Okay, so go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners.
Madam President?
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Yes, I would request and move that we approve the vacation, the portion of South Raymond Street situated in the Randall Acres subdivision number 13.
Second.
Steve, do we need to mention the resolution number at all?
Resolution
Okay.
2415.
Perfect, thank you. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, well, with that, our regular agenda, that's it for our regular agenda, and we're gonna move into public communications. Is there anyone that would wish to address the commission at this time? All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks all.